Deep in the heart of Yumikik, a small village nestled between thick forests and vast farmlands, an old tale was whispered among elders. It spoke of men who returned from the grave, not as ghosts, but as something worse, vengeful spirits that walked the earth with a purpose. No one had ever seen one. No one dared to believe it. But one fateful night, the story became reality. Obesai Okonkwo was the pride of his family, a young man blessed with strength, intelligence, and an undeniable charm. He stood tall, his dark ebony skin glistening under the sun whenever he worked on his father's farm. His wide shoulders and muscular build made him a formidable hunter, and his deep-set eyes, sharp as a hawk's, held a fire of determination that inspired all who knew him. His best friend, Emeka, was the opposite, short and stocky, with a sly face and narrow eyes that always seemed to be hiding something. While Obesai believed in hard work, Emeka believed in shortcuts. He was a man of cunning, a snake in the grass who envied Obesai's success and secretly despised him. One evening, as the two sat by the riverbank, Emeka turned to Obesai with a smirk. "My brother, have you ever thought of wealth beyond what this village can offer?" Obesai chuckled. "Our wealth is in the sweat of our brow, Emeka. We work hard, and the gods bless us." Emeka scoffed. "Work hard? And what has it given your family? Your father is old, your mother barely eats, and your sister still wears the same tattered clothes. Meanwhile, others live in luxury." Obesai frowned. "What are you suggesting?" Emeka leaned closer. "There is a man, Odogwu the merchant. He seeks young men to help transport his goods. But he pays well. Riches beyond your imagination." Obesai hesitated. He had heard rumors about Odogwu, whispers of dark dealings and men who never returned after working for him. But poverty gnawed at his family. Against his better judgment, he agreed. That night, deep in the forests where the deal was to take place, Emeka led him to a clearing where Odogwu and his men awaited. Obesai barely had time to react before a blade was thrust into his stomach. Emeka's voice was cold. "Forgive me, my brother, but one must die for another to rise." As Obesai fell, his body shaking in pain, the last thing he saw was Emeka's cruel smile and the flickering torchlight above. 3 moons passed, and Yumikik moved on. Obesai's family mourned, but life was relentless, and hunger showed no mercy. Emeka, now wealthy and draped in fine garments, became the new village champion. He told the people that Obesai had chosen a different path, abandoning his family for a better life elsewhere. But the gods had heard Obesai's cries. One stormy night, as lightning slashed across the sky, something stirred in the forests of Yumikik. A shadow emerged from the earth, its presence thick with the scent of decay and vengeance. It was Obesai, his skin darker than before, his eyes glowing a dull red, his body unnaturally strong and unyielding. His voice was deep, gravelly, no longer entirely human. The gods had given him one purpose: revenge. The village knew something was wrong when animals began disappearing, their carcasses found drained of blood. Whispers of an evil presence spread like wildfire, and fear gripped the people's hearts. One night, as Emeka lay in his luxurious hut, he awoke to the feeling of suffocating heat. His oil lamp flickered violently, casting twisted shadows on the walls. Then he heard it, a deep, guttural whisper. "You took my life, Emeka." The room grew ice-cold. Emeka shot up, his breath shaky. Who is there?" The door creaked open. Standing in the doorway was Obesai, his skin charred, his eyes burning like embers. Emeka screamed. No one saw Emeka the next morning, but those who ventured into his hut found the walls stained with blood and his bed torn apart as if wild beasts had ravaged it. Panic spread. The villagers feared they had angered the gods. The elders called for a cleansing ritual, but no priest dared approach the cursed hut. Meanwhile, Obesai lurked in the shadows, his soul tormented, his rage unquenched. But he had not returned just for revenge. He had returned to save his suffering parents. One evening, Obesai's mother sat outside her crumbling home, weeping. The years had not been kind to her. Her skin, once smooth, was now wrinkled, her once bright eyes dulled by sorrow. Obesai stepped forward, the air around him heavy with an eerie silence. "Mother." She froze, her breath hitching. Slowly she turned. Her eyes widened in horror and disbelief. "Obesai, my son." Tears streamed down her face as she reached out, but her hands passed through his spectral form. "I have returned," he whispered, "but not as the son you knew." His mother sobbed. "Then why, my child?" "To end our suffering." The next day, a miracle occurred. A wealthy stranger arrived at their doorstep, offering bags of food, gold, and fine clothes. He spoke of an anonymous benefactor who wished to repay the Okonkwo family for their son's sacrifice. Though the villagers rejoiced, Obesai's mother knew the truth. That night, as she whispered prayers to the gods, she felt a gentle breeze, and a voice, soft yet firm, echoed in the wind. "Rest now, mother. Justice has been served." And with that, Obesai, the son who had returned from death, was never seen again. The legend of Obesai Okonkwo became a cautionary tale, a tale of betrayal, vengeance, and the thin line between life and death. The village elders told the story to warn against greed and to remind all that even the dead could not ignore injustice. But on stormy nights, when the winds howled through the trees, some swore they could still hear his voice whispering in the darkness. And those with guilt in their hearts trembled, fearing the return of the man who walked between worlds. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to click the subscribe button for more interesting episodes.